All right, hey fellow coder, welcome to this next installment in our series where we are creating a Spring Boot / React web app from scratch. In this lesson, we're going to start the process of the CRUD situation where we will start to create the create, read, update, delete aspects of one of our entities. So our one entity that you see on screen here is the assignment entity. This is the assignment table. This is where we'll be keeping track of the assignments that have been submitted through the assignment submission app. And yeah, we're going to start creating a view that allows us to create this from a front-end React web app. So if you want to see that, stick around. All right, welcome back. Let's get started. So basically, the first thing that we will do is start to create a very rudimentary view that goes along with this app. So let me go to localhost 3000. I forget if my app is running. It is. Okay. So, and let's dock this on the left or on the right here. And we'll have our VS Code open on the left. And let's shrink this a little bit. All right. So yeah, what I want to do is when we log in, so we try to go to dashboard, I guess, right, dashboard. Okay, so we have JWT. So in this dashboard, I guess we'll have the opportunity to see all of the assignments. This is assuming we are a student, not a code reviewer. So as a student, when you log in, you'll be able to see all of your assignments, and you will be able to submit a new assignment. So I'm just going to focus on submitting a new assignment right now, and what view goes along with that. So on the dashboard, this is the dashboard index.js page. We can create, we'll just have a button here that says, submit new assignment or something like that. And this button, submit new assignment, we really need to bring in some styling here because it looks awful. Oh boy. Let's, for now, let's add a little bit of, all right, it's not called style. It's been a while since I've used React. There is a way to do this. Style prop must be an object. Like so. Boom. Okay, so with style, you need to pass in an object. So this is the notation that style takes. The outer brackets, the inner bracket is the object. So we'll have like a property for CSS. We'll just say like margin top. In with the CSS that we're doing, with the inline style that I'm doing here with React, we do not hyphenate. So usually it would be margin top like this, and then you would specify, 2 M's or something. But you create camel case. So camel case is like so. We get rid of the dash and then we capitalize the next letter. And as you can see, when I saved it, it pushed it down a bit. And maybe even we will just say margin in general so that it just pops it out a little bit. And then for the button, again, I don't want to get too crazy with style here. So I won't, because the styling, we will bring in something like Bootstrap or something, a CSS framework that allows us to add some nicer styles to all of our stuff. We'll do that in a future lesson, maybe the next one or something, after we've done some of the rudimentary CRUD stuff for the assignment, objects. So when I click on this button right now, nothing happens, but what I want to have happen is I want it to go to a new view where we can submit an assignment, right? We'll fill out all the info that we need to submit an assignment. So basically this button will just redirect. This should really just be there should be a link in here, a link to something like assignments / this is interesting because we should create an assignment first and then redirect to that assignment ID. So that's actually, there will be some, if you want to follow proper conventions, we should actually have an on-click here that will create an assignment for us with a fetch statement and then redirect to that assignment that we just created. So yeah, let's do that. So on click, we will have it say create assignment, right? And then this create assignment, we will have a function here called create assignment. And this will perform a fetch And this is the first part of our sort of CRUD. This is where we will create a new assignment. This is the C in CRUD, where we will create. The standard syntax for create is to issue a post request, and you will issue it to the endpoint with the name of the domain object pluralized as a post. So in this case, the domain object will be assignment, and the pluralized version of assignment is assignments. So we will do a fetch to /assignments, right? /assignments. And it will be a post. So in order to make it be a post with the fetch method here that we're calling the fetch function, it takes two parameters. The first one is the URL. The second one is an object. And you can start passing in details about your fetch. So one will be the headers. Headers, I believe, is an object. So headers has content type, and we really need to make this a generic thing so that we don't have to keep, setting the content or the header content type. But anyway, we'll get there with some refactoring. So content type is application JSON, and remember when we're creating a new when we're trying to create a new object, when we're tackling or hitting our API on the back end, we need to pass in our authentication, right? So authentication, I believe, authorization, what is it? Content type, comma. There's no suggestions. Is that because something's broken over here? I forget if it's authentication. Authentication. I think it's authentication. And then you have a bearer token, right? So you have a bearer, and then you pass to the token. The token in this case will be our JWT. Okay, that's where that JWT comes from. I'm using the backtick notation so that I can use this notation to sub in the value of the JWT without having to do string concatenation. This is just a fancy way to avoid all the string concatenation of like using all the pluses and stuff. It's just easier that way. So it did turn this to blue, so that's a good sign that I got the right, key for that. So headers is blah, 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 and then method is another key, and this method type will be post. Okay, so we're going to post to /assignments. It's going to be an application JSON with authentication bearer token, which will allow this to go through because we're saying who we are. We're passing the bearer token here. This JWT will contain the details of our user that's logged in. And then when we get a response, we will parse that response. So basically, if the response status code is 200, meaning everything's okay, then we will return the response.json, which returns a promise. And then we can parse that promise with some data, essentially. So we're assuming that we get some sort of data back. And then we can do a console log on that data just to see what's up, to see what we have from the server side. So this will talk to our server side, but obviously we haven't created this assignments endpoint yet. So let's go ahead and hop over to our web folder package. All we have is an auth controller. So what we need to do now is we need to have another controller that handles assignments, right? So we'll create an assignment controller. This will be a REST controller, and the endpoint, the request mapping endpoint, will still be /API, but now it'll be /assignments. So usually the endpoints are pluralized, right? Because that's where we're calling the /assignments endpoint. And like I said, that was the convention. There we go. I always forget the word convention. Also, this should probably be /API, right? So what was the other one that we used? Yeah, API auth login. So we need to do API /assignments, right? Cool. So for our API, we have assignments, and in here we want to create a post mapping that will just post to itself, right? Because /assignments is what we want to post to. We will return a response body, and I'll get into what that is in a moment. We'll say create assignment, and like so. And then I'm realizing are we able to, oh wait, is it not response body? What is it called? Response entity, sorry, not body, entity. Response entity comes from Spring, the Spring framework. So that allows us to return a response, which is what you want with a REST controller. It plays nicely with REST controllers. Now, and I'll get there in a moment. Now, when we create the assignment, I want to get access to the user information, right? I want to get access to who's logged in, and I'm realizing usually what I do is this. I usually do authentication principal user. And I'm not sure if that'll work with JWT. It might if we have stored it in, we've stored it in, will that have been stored in the session? I'm just trying to think if this is actually still stateless if we do it this way. If we have microservices, meaning we have a bunch of different servers running a bunch of different services, will this break if we do it this way? Because normally the user information we would glean from the JSON web token, which I believe we've created a service for that, right? We have a util service here, JWT util, and we can get the username from the token. And if it's just the username, that's not super helpful because we want more than just the username. So let me try this and see if this works. And then I'll have to do some research to see if that will break inside of a server system. Okay, so for now, let's just say what? Let's say assign. Well, we should really create a service, right? We should have an assignment service. The code in the controller should not do anything special. The code in the controller should just call a service, get the data back from the service, and send it to the front end. That's all the controller should be doing here. So if you start typing in like service level stuff like business logic, like your queries and all that stuff, you probably shouldn't be in the controller. It should be in a service. I'm guilty of not following that advice, that convention. So let's create an assignment service, create a new class called assignment service. We will put it into the .service package. We will annotate it with service before we forget. And then, yeah, we'll start with that empty class for now. And then the assignment service, and here in the create assignment endpoint, the slash assignments endpoint, we will have it say, create assignment or something. Or maybe just save. Okay. And save with an empty can be a method that says, oh, you're saving a brand new entity. But that, I probably should call it just create because that's a more accurate. Anyway, so we'll create an assignment. So assignment equals new assignment. Nothing fancy here. This is just some plain old Java stuff. We've got an assignment object that we've just created. Now, what do we want to put inside of this assignment, right? We have to set some stuff. Do we want to set a branch, a code review video URL, a GitHub URL, an ID, a status, a user, all that good stuff. So for most of this, we don't know the answer, right? When someone just creates a brand new assignment, we don't know a branch, we don't know the review video URL, we don't know the GitHub. We will know the ID because we'll save it to the database, so the database will tell us what the ID is. The status, we probably do know because it can be one of the first statuses, right? Which is like none unsubmitted or whatever the status was. So we can probably set the status to a string. I forget what we said in our spec in our document, and I don't want to pull it up right now. So let me just hard code a status of needs to be submitted, and I'll come back to that. I forget what our requirements document outlined for that, and then I'll set the user. Now here's where I want to be able to set that in here, right? So we will need to pass in the user that will be set onto the assignment. And then from here, we want to save it, right? We want to save the assignment, and I don't think we have a repository yet for our assignment. We have a user repository, but no assignment repository. So we'll create a new interface inside of our repository package. We'll call it assignment repository. This is just an interface because we can extend JPA repository, just like we did last time. When we extend JPA repository, it needs two things. It needs to know the type of the object, the class that we are going to be messing around with the assignment repository. So that's just assignment. That's the type. And then what is the ID of assignment? I'm pretty sure it's just or the ID type. I think it's a long type. So let's import assignment here, and let's go and have a look. Yeah, the ID is of type long right here. So that's what it wants here. So there you go, done. We've created an assignment repository. So now we can bring that in. We can auto wire that bad boy in. Auto wired assignment repository. Call assignment repo because I'm lazy. And then assignment repo.save assignment. Like so. And this assignment.repo.save will return the assignment object. So I actually want to return that assignment object back with a return statement. Okay, so .save will return an assignment, which I will then re-return from the person who calls, or from the class or the method that calls this one, which will be back in our controller, right? The controller called .save. So here we need to pass in the user, and this gives us back an assignment. So what we can do, we can assign that to a variable called, we'll call it like new assignment or something. And then what we can do with this new assignment is we want to return it with our response entity. The response entity will return the metadata as well as the actual assignment itself. So how we do that is we say return response entity dot, and look at this, we have a bunch of helpful things like response okay, we can return a status, we can return okay with a body, blah, 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 right? And we can do a bunch of stuff with this to build the response back. But I want to say response is okay, and the body of the response is new assignment. Okay, so we're just going to return everything's okay, and here's the new assignment back. So now our endpoint should maybe function. So now when we call this endpoint, it should just create a new assignment and return it back to us, which we have set up and teed up here inside of our, code, React code, where when we click that button, it should hit that server endpoint and create an assignment. I don't think it'll work because I think we're going to get an error with the user thing, the authentication principle thing. But let's open up the console here and see what happens when I click on that button. So when I click on submit new assignment, we get an error. 401 unauthorized. Interesting. So I was not expecting that. If we're unauthorized, let's see what we're sending in an application tab, network tab. I want to see what our headers were, right? So the headers, the request headers, authentication, bearer, and there's a token, right? So is it not authentication? Bearer, token, example. Authorization, what did I call it? I put, okay, authorization. Those two, authorization and authentication. I guess, anyway, whatever. I won't try to, explain myself. Submit. Okay, cool. So now we have a different error. So we've gotten past the 401. So we are authenticated. But there's a 500 exception, which means anytime I see 500, it means server-side error. So let's have a look at our server side. We have a null pointer exception here in line 21 where we try to save. I forgot to auto wire the service in. So the service was null. Let me stop. Let me go to debug mode. Run it in debug mode and do a breakpoint here because I want to take a look and see if the user object is populated or not. So, refresh, submit, goes to our breakpoint in the server side, fantastic. It hit this, right? It hit the filter first. Let me just play through that. Boom, let me see, do we have a user? Oh my gosh, we do. Sweet, username Trevor, ID 1. All right, so that might actually work. So we'll create the new assignment. I hit F6, so boom. It it executed the method that we just created, and it did an insert into assignment with some values, and now we're going to return the response. So I'm going to let it go and return the response. And back in our front end, look at this. We have a brand new assignment. Status needs to be submitted. We have the user on it, and we have the ID of the assignment as 1. And if I click it again, oh, and I need to get rid of my breakpoints. Let me delete my breakpoints and let it play through. We have number 2. Click again. 3. Click again. 4. So it keeps creating brand new assignments. So we can actually prove that that is happening by going to our MySQL workbench, and we can have a look at the what's it called? Select star from assignments table or assignment. And we can see that there you go. Those are our 4 assignments that we've submitted. And look, it's assigned to user ID 1, which is perfect. So that's great. That's what we wanted to see. And then really from here, all we need to do is redirect us here in the front end. We need to redirect to a new view that then takes that assignment into account. So what we'll basically do is this data, I can rename this to, it's not data, but maybe assignment, because that's kind of what it is that's being returned. Right? So this assignment has an ID, so we'll be able to do assignment.id to get the assignment's ID, and we can say window.location.href equals, and we can say /assignments/ and then I'm going to do the backticks here, and then we can say assignment.id. Right? So we can redirect to that URL. So now when I click on this button, it's actually, well, it should redirect us to the URL of the newly created assignment. And now we haven't set that up as a view, so it's gonna break. It's gonna probably give us a 404 or something. But let's see what happens. So if I click on submit new assignment, look at that, assignments/5. Okay, and there's just a blank screen because we don't have any views for this yet. But assignment/5 means that you're going to be looking at assignment ID 5 right now. And now we can populate a view here with all the details of assignment 5, which right now will be empty, but that's the point. We're creating a brand new assignment, and we're gonna have to fill out all the details to submit the assignment, okay? So there you go, that's sort of the first interesting thing that we can do with the CRUD. This is just the C part of the 4 letters. We've just created it. The next will be to be able to update it, because we need to be able to show the information that we have here and be able to update it. And then reading it, so needing to be able to display that information and so on and so forth. That will go, step by step. So that's probably what we'll dive into in the next video. And maybe, like I promised, somewhere in there we'll bring in some Bootstrap stuff so that it will make our app look better. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you're watching this far, you might as well. It means you really like this content. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, most people aren't subscribed. So if you like these videos, please do. Probably click above my head and subscribe, so you'll see and get notifications for the next videos that are coming out in this series. So thanks so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and take care of yourself. Happy learning, and bye for now.